My name is Marco Valencia, and I'm responsible for the product success and customer co-innovation for S4HANA. And my team is responsible to safeguard and do customer care for S4HANA Cloud in the Americas region. And the topic that we will cover is, simply put, is migration of data to S4HANA Cloud. I will also be talking a little bit about S4HANA on-premise. But the idea will be to provide you some of the tips and tricks that we have been seeing throughout the different implementations and the deployments we have done. So the content today will be structured by going through an overview on the approaches of SAP S4HANA and the different tools that we have available, that being the Migration Cockpit for S4HANA Cloud and S4HANA on-premise. But we will also be covering as well the Migration Object Modeler, that is a tool specifically used for specific extensions into the migration objects in S4HANA on-premise. Let's just look first at the way customers are looking into S4 and the different paths to move from any ERP, in any release, any enhancement package into S4. And that has also a correlation directly into the data migration and how you can go about these activities. The first one is what we have been seeing, and most of our customers are looking, when they are looking into how they can then transition into S4, their ERP system in any level of enhancement package, they look for what we call a system conversion. So basically what we will do is to reuse, be in place for conversion. We will take the system, we will convert it. That will include also the conversion of the data, will include also the database migration if it has, but it will be a fully converted system. And this is a path mainly available for S4HANA on-premise. But then we have two options when it comes to re-engineering with data migration. One is the selective data transition, that allow you then to create some pockets of information and then transfer them into an S4HANA on-premise or an S4HANA single tenant system, where then you can transfer this data and be selective on the transition. This could be done in case that you have a system that is already configured, where you want to start with a fresh, but don't want to do a full system implementation. And the topic that I will cover today is what about for the new implementations? And that will include S4HANA on-premise, the single tenant edition, and S4HANA Cloud. And just to set the stage, S4HANA Cloud, it's basically a new implementation. There is no conversion path from any on-premise system. Going into S4HANA Cloud requires a new implementation. And this will be the tips and tricks that I will be providing in terms of the data migration. One aspect that we are doing today is providing tools and capabilities that allow a simple data migration. And if you look in the past, when there were migrations of ERP, there was a lot of programming that needed to be done to really then migrate the data into the system. By using the APIs, create the payloads, and then do the data migration, do the test, and then go into, for example, the production data, and then on the cutover activities, execute these activities. With S4HANA, on-premise and cloud, SAP has created a tool that is called the SAP Migration Cockpit that allows you to do a templatized approach to the migration, which means it's no coding required. You will have an application that you can use where then you can put your data on simple templates. These templates are XML templates that you can manage directly in Excel. You can put the data, run through the process. The tool will allow you then to do a simulation, a validation of the data. We'll provide you with some of the tips and tricks that will show you, for example, if there are things that you need to change the validation of the data with the current system data, and then we'll allow you then to transfer the data in a simple step. What I wanted to comment is with S4HANA Cloud 1908, and when I refer to 1908, I refer to year 2019, or the 1908, with 08 being August. So every time that you look into the release version 1908, it's the year plus the month. So it tells me that for S4HANA Cloud, we are providing the ability to have more than 100 migration objects. And one of the tips and tricks that we give to all our customers looking to do a data migration is that they always look at the content that SAP delivers directly into the documentation. So you can see what are new objects being embedded in each release, but at the same time, what other enhancement we have done into the migration objects. With 1908, we provide more than 100 migration objects, and with 1908, we provide more than 80 migration objects. And if you look, for example, into what we provide is the ability to then do the data provisioning, the process and content, and the data load without any code needed. Now, if I look into the different approaches as it comes to migration, the Migration Cockpit allows our customers looking to transition into S4 3 different methods. The first one is what we have been seeing most used in public cloud deployments is the transfer data using files that will allow you then to look at the migration objects, select them, download the templates, do the cleansing of the legacy system you are trying to migrate from, put them into a structure, and the template is predefined with all the information that you need to do it, and then go through the tool that will allow you then to do a simulation and the validation of the data. And if you have then the ability to do validation, you can make the validations that will be recorded, so when you execute any other processes, then do it. What we've been seeing also in the public cloud, in S4HANA Cloud, is that the recommendation and the tips that we are giving to our customers is, due to the fact that the public cloud or SAP S4HANA Cloud has a 2-tier landscape, quality and production, we recommend to do the migration of the objects in iterations. So what we recommend our customers is when you get the transfer using the files, make one iteration, look at the test, make sure that the results that you are looking for are there. You clear the logs in terms you have maybe some errors or data validation, and then go into a second iteration until you complete everything. That transfer using data files is also available for cloud and also for on-premise. Now we had also the ability for the cloud as well as on-premises to do staging tables that will allow you to create staging tables that are automatically created on an SAP S4HANA database schema. And then these tables can be populated with the business data that will allow us also with the ability to then do the data migration with the system. Same procedure applied, the system will create the simulation, the validation, and then this will allow you then to migrate your data. The third point that I wanted to make sure you leave this room also with this new information, this is something that we released on 1909 with on-premise. This is the only option. This option is only available for on-premise, and that will be a transfer data directly from an SAP system, which will allow you then to do the access of the source system. It needs to be an ABAP-based system only that will allow you then to connect, transfer the data from the SAP source system to the target SAP S4HANA on-premise system. And this will allow you to support migration scenarios, including, for example, other SAP solutions like SAP Apparel and Footwear solution or any other verticals that we have. That's something that we announced with the release of 1909. Again, when I said 1909, I'm referring September 2019 release for on-premise. But you probably might be thinking now into how the Migration Cockpit works. As I said, there is no code needed. It's basically an application that can be used to use templates for the migration objects that has complete information about what specific fields we have. And then what the tool does is you take the template, do the cleansing of the data, put your data on XML files, Then they are uploaded into the tool. The tool runs the simulation and the validation. And what I wanted to do now, and in interest of time, is just show you how the tool works. So in the screen you are seeing now how the validation works. If you can see, then the system runs. You will create a project where you will be able then to select the objects. In this case, for the case of TechEd, I'm creating the project TechEd Migration, a demo, just to show you this. In this case, what you are doing with the tool will then show you the different objects that are available for migration. There is also documentation in every object if you need to understand, because there might be some prerequisites that you need to have before you migrate an object. In this case, I'm selecting the specific object to facilitate the migration. Then, now that I select the object, I will download the template. This template is creating a XML file. I can open this XML file in just a tool like Excel. You will then put the data. You will have instructions on how to read the messages, any information about the fields that you need. Then you will put all the information. We'll put the cleansing of the data, and then you will upload it. Now that you upload it, then you are able then to activate the specific object to start the migration and the simulation. And some of the tips that we are giving our customers is when they go into the cleansing of the legacy system and when they prepare the migration templates, to always try to manage the data in the templates without using formatting. So if you are copying and pasting data, their recommendation that we provide to our customers is that they always paste it only with values only. So as you can see from the demo, I uploaded the template. The Migration Cockpit identified a couple of situations where it's warning me that there are some errors where I need to do some data validation. In this case, one is just to validate in terms of formatting. The other one, I put a data that I did not have included into the configuration of the system. So it's creating this validation. It will allow me then to fix the validation, by accepting them, recording how I want to go about the validation, confirming the data. And then by executing this, then I have converted the values. I'm ready to simulate the import, just to run the progress. And then what the tool will allow me then is to select again my template, and we will then simulate the import and then execute the import. And if you look, comparing with the old way of how we're doing data migration, there has not been any code or any additional effort to use the APIs to then go into the migration of the data to set the system. And this is something that we offer with the Migration Cockpit. Available again, included in the subscription for S4HANA Cloud, is also included in the S4HANA on-premise. But as you can see, this could simplify the way that the migration is done. So in interest of showing you this, I wanted to demonstrate how the Migration Cockpit works. There might be also cases where our customers might need to extend some specific objects. The Migration Cockpit in S4HANA Cloud allows you to do that. I will talk a little bit about this, and then I will go to the next step of the presentation. But imagine for a moment that you want to have maybe a specific custom-based fields in maybe a sales order. In S4HANA Cloud, you have the ability to do extensions. And then when you create the extensions using custom fields, depending on the migration object, you need to look at the documentation. It will allow you then to configure the extension. This will create the ability to then create the extension in the sales order. But if this is a migration object that allows extensions, it will then populate the custom fields in the template, which will allow you also to maybe add a specific custom fields that are required for the migration. And that's basically embedded. The tip and the trick that I wanted to also show is you will need to look at the specific objects to understand which ones can be extended and which ones are not. There might be a couple of limitations, but in general, this will allow you to do it. Now, the topic that it's also important to cover mainly is a tool that is specific to S4HANA on-premise, is the SAP Migration Cockpit, and we call it the Migration Object Modeler. Similar to what I explained for S4HANA Cloud, you have the ability in on-premise that you might have a template that might not have or include maybe all the standard fields that SAP has, and or maybe you will be looking for specific aspects to then add custom fields into specific objects that you want to have. This tool, available for S4HANA on-premise, allows you, the Migration Object Modeler, to design custom objects and enhancements into the migration object. So you will use the Migration Object Modeler to then create objects, could be custom objects or could be, as I mentioned, standard objects that are not yet into the scope of the Migration Cockpit, where then you can select, basically then easily adjust the source structure, and then this will be able to use the standard APIs to then you can, or your function module, to then add the structure into the mapping, so this can also be rendered into the template, or you can maybe use the other type of processes that we use. In on-premise, this migration object can be also called through transaction LTMOM, and the Migration Cockpit on-premise can also be called with transaction LTMC. In the cloud, for those of you looking into S4HANA Cloud, the Migration Cockpit belongs to the area where we manage all the implementation aspects for S4HANA Cloud, and this is what we call Manage Your Solution, Fiori app. So if you go to the Manage Your Solution Fiori app, you will be able also to get the Migration Cockpit. And again, in the cloud, extensions will be done through the normal custom objects. First, you will need to extend the object and then create the migration templates. So this is really what I wanted to present in this session. Wanted just to summarize what I will recommend. One is, if you embark into an S4HANA Cloud project, or if you embark into an S4 on-premise project, the first thing you need to understand is that there is no need for programming needed. You can use the Migration Cockpit to then prepare your migration objects. And the second thing is, if there are possibility for extension, you can do it in S4HANA Cloud through the custom objects, or in on-premise you will use the Migration Object Modeler. Important will be in any migration topic is that you do the cleansing of the data. If you decide to use the templates or the staging areas or make the system transport, to do the cleansing. Try to then integrate, if you use the template approach, to integrate data without formats, so you avoid any potential problems. Work on iterations, which means you start iterating the migration into your queue system, and then when you have performed enough testing, you can do your cutover activities in the production system by just including all the objects. So, I will be more than happy to answer any questions after the session. We need to go outside the room. But if you have any other questions, or you would like to know more about the Migration Cockpit, the strategies for migration, there is a couple of sessions I would like to point out here. So these related TechEd sessions will cover more specifics into the SAP migration of data for the cloud as well as on-premise. We do also have the paths for transitioning to S4HANA Cloud that are relevant. But I hope the content is helpful. Thank you very much for your attendance. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.